Welcome to the Wild Remedies podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Ancora, and I'm here to bring you captivating stories from some of the most fascinating people I've connected with on my own journey of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Wild Remedies podcast. Today we are talking with Kylee Zeck. She is so sweet. I feel like we're best friends now after this conversation. This is the first time we've ever chatted in person, and she's just such a kind and wonderful human being. So I'm sure that's going to come through this conversation. Kylee is a wife, a mother, a holistic health coach, and a natural birth advocate. And for nearly 10 years, she has struggled with, well, we're going to call them quote unquote, two immune conditions, lupus and rheumatoid arthritis. And of course, these were labels that were given to her under the care of conventional allopathic doctors. But in 2016, she adopted a natural approach to health, which quickly reversed both of those conditions, which has allowed her to lead her current health coaching and natural birthing advocacy work. And with her experiences and health education, Kylee hopes to empower other people, women, to take their health back into their own hands. So her and I have had very similar healing journeys. So you're gonna hear us jam about that. It's actually really wild how similar they were. Like we were on, similar medications. A lot of our really terrible symptoms started to crop up around the same age. We're going to talk about diet and the type of diet that she did to start her healing process. We get into energy medicine and, of course, a lot of the issues that we've come up with the traditional medical system and what we've both done in order to overcome that and start feeling better. So without further ado, let's jump into this podcast and meet Kylee Zeck. Okay, so I quickly just want to tell you guys about the epic holiday sale we have going on for the next few weeks. If you've been on the fence about trying our magic lattes, now is the time to jump on it because they are 20% off for a limited time. Just imagine yourself cozied up by the fire with a magical latte with benefits. We have 3 delicious flavors that help boost your immune system, nourish your skin from within, and reduce stress and help you sleep. And our latte blends also make the perfect gift for the wellness lover in your life. Our ritual box is our best seller. It has all 3 of the flavors and it has free shipping as always. And of course, it's included in our 20% off sale, so it's like the best deal ever. So do not miss your chance. Go to wildremedieshop.com or to the link in this episode show notes to get this offer today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wild Remedies podcast. Today, I am so excited to introduce everyone to Kylee Zeck. Kylee, how are you? It's so wonderful to get to talk to you today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I am doing really well, actually. Just going through the ebbs and flows of motherhood and life and figuring everything out. And today was good. I gifted myself some alone time that I haven't really been consistent with. And I find that I'm a much better mother when I give myself that time to remove myself and then come back. And I'm just way more present and just I'm a better mommy that way and a better wife and a friend and a person when I have that alone time to just kind of reset.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Would you say that you're more of an introvert than an extrovert, or?
Not really. I'm like, no, because so I would say I hermit sometimes, but most of the time I'm the person at, Target that I'm like, oh, you're from Kansas City? Hi, I used to be from Kansas City too. And blah, 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 blah. And they're just looking at me like, and I'm like, okay, well, good talk. Thanks. See you later. But my husband is very much the same as me in that respect. So we're both the people that are like, oh my gosh, like let's just have a random conversation with a stranger. And they're just like looking at us like a deer in headlights. And we're like, okay, well, at least we have each other and we're like that. So
honestly, I love those personality types because I am the complete opposite. I am definitely an introvert. I can be extroverted,
But like, my gosh, I just got back from a 7-day business trip where it was just full on having to deal with so many people, events, all of these things running around. And I got home
Mhm.
and was just like, oh,
I'm dying.
crashed. And
Yeah.
I have like another big event that I have to do this weekend. And I'm like, I
Oh,
don't know how people do
man.
it. And it's true. Like, I need a lot
No.
of alone time in order
Mhm.
to recharge.
Yep.
And sometimes I'm jealous of the people who get energy from other people
Oh,
and,
yeah.
are really like curious and chatting with strangers. I'm definitely the one kind of like standing in the corner. But then once you start chatting with me, then I come
We're
out
good to
of my
go.
shell. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it sometimes changes for me. It just also depends on how overstimulated I am. I'm
Mm.
so quick to be overstimulated. And so I just have to be careful of that. And that's another thing. It's like, the word empath, I feel like is so overused and sometimes annoying this day and age, but I really do absorb everything. And so I've been so mindful of like just really kind of having that energetic shield of protection to not absorb
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, for sure. I've had to make a note to do that a couple of times before, just like having conversations with folks who kind of, I don't know, corner you and
Mm.
just talk and, don't,
Oh my gosh.
no,
That just
no,
happened to me. Like
really?
it was, yes, yesterday I went to Hobby Lobby by myself and I'm like, yes, by myself. I don't get this very often. Or maybe it was a few days ago, but whatever. Um, and I was like, yes, my free time to just kind of look around. And I talked with a lady for an hour and a half in the aisle of Hobby Lobby.
Oh,
And
wow.
turns out we jumped down like 12 rabbit holes and it was super fun. But at the end, I was like, oh, shoot, that was like my entire alone time. And it's fine. But
Wasn't
sometimes
very
you need
alone,
those.
was it?
No, but sometimes you need those conversations because it's like they make us feel so isolated in the way that we feel and think these days just because they want us to believe that we're so alone and believing in what's going on. And so when you do find
Mm.
those people, you're like, "Oh, so you get it.
Yeah.
You see me, I see
Yeah.
you, and you get what's going on." So it's cool to
Mhm.
have those connections to be like, "Okay, hey." And then I
Yeah.
have to reel my energy back in so I don't scare them. I'm like, "Okay, so how far can I talk about these things with you without freaking you out?"
Well, feel free to talk about absolutely anything on this podcast. I mean, I feel like, both you and your husband, Alec, have been such a beacon of light for
Mm,
me over the
thank
past
you.
couple of years. I found you guys through the Health Freedom for Humanity podcast, which was just I mean, refreshing, but also heartbreaking. Like some of the interviews
Mm,
that you guys were having with
yeah.
people who were having, side effects from, these medical interventions that have been
Hmm.
pushed on people for the past few years was really, it was rough
It's
because you guys had a
devastating.
lot of
Yeah.
people on, a lot of
Yeah.
people.
And there
Yeah.
was one I know in particular, excuse me, my husband was interviewing and she ended up having, um, I guess you would say, a reaction or a seizure on the
Oh
podcast.
my
And that's just
gosh.
like, I can't even, and that's why I don't do podcasts very often because I just like, I don't know. I just am, you're right. I'm introverted, extroverted. I am very protective of my energy at times, but just seeing those things, it's like, I gosh, I totally take on that. Like I can't imagine. Again, I compartmentalize though with my own family members who have chosen to trust science with a capital S.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're gonna be just fine. Even on a daily basis, I feel like I revisit that in my head where I'm like, okay, they're gonna be okay. They're gonna be okay. But mindset is everything. The mind is so powerful. And also thinking and speaking that into existence and just sending them all the love and the healing, sounds cheesy to say healing vibes, but honestly, like if you send them a prayer of protection, I totally believe in that. And I have to do that many times a day because I
Yeah.
just can't even go there. And just, with other people, it's so removed. But when it's your family,
Hmm. Yeah.
It's hard. Sorry, I get choked up thinking about it, but um, I know that God has a plan in all of this, and yeah, it's wild what's going on.
It is. Yeah. I know it's scary, but it's interesting. The reason that I wanted to chat with you today is to talk about your health journey, right? And I feel like we've had a lot of similarities.
Mm.
And, as challenging as that's been, for me, it's still ongoing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
lifelong thing at
Mm-hmm.
this point.
Absolutely.
And the things that are, we're starting to see or that we have been seeing over the past couple of years, it's almost like what we've gone through is preparing us to be able to help other folks, because there's going to be a lot of people who are looking for answers, right? And unfortunately, a lot of folks aren't going to find those answers
Yeah.
through the Western medical health system, right? And I talk about that quite a bit, and there's a place for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like emergency
Mm-hmm.
medicine, extremely important. Like
Right.
it's very valuable in many ways, but it's detrimental in a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I would love to just kind of get started by hearing your journey, like where you started out with your health challenges, and
Mm-hmm.
how all of that has looked so far for you.
Yeah. Well, just like you, it's still ongoing just because, babies can come in your life and totally shake things up, as well as family and just trauma and things happen in life that continue to show me more and more about myself that I need to dig deeper into. Um, and it's crazy, and I'll circle back to that. But yeah, so it all started when I was about 14 years old. And looking back, I realized that I had so much going on at that time. My dad was deployed. Um, I got my wisdom teeth taken out. I had a first serious boyfriend who was not, was definitely in my life to teach me lessons about myself. I was living in a house that was so old that was probably riddled with mold. Um, and so there were so many things, and I could touch on what I think really made me ill, but there's not one smoking gun, obviously. And it's just layers upon layers of things that make us present with the things that we do. And so, which is refreshing to think about, because then you don't have to identify with one label. Although I've had doctors label me several times with several different things, including lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, connective tissue disease, or undifferentiated connective tissue disease, and just all these things, fibromyalgia, whatever. It's all this umbrella of autoimmune condition that's looking the same, but I don't really know. I wish
Yep.
we had a magic wand or magic pill, but we don't.
Yep.
And you're going to live this way for the rest of your life. And
Hmm.
that's what I was told. But yeah, so I started really young, and I unfortunately was tossed around from doctor to doctor for about 4 years until I got my first label. And although I don't know, I no longer identify with labels, they could be incredibly helpful at the time, because you're like, okay, so now this kind of gives me a sense of direction of where to go from here. But that's if you're still in the paradigm of, subscribing to the Western medicine. Like, as I was back then, I was like, okay, well, now what medicine do I need? What do I need
Hmm.
to make myself feel better? And I had no idea what I was about to go through. And because by this time I got this label of lupus, I was 18 years old, and I had already tried several drugs at this point.
Mm. What
And
were the
then,
symptoms?
um, so my main one was fatigue and pain all over my body, like
That
just
was me too.
excruciating pain. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't even run my fingertips down the front of my thighs without it just like being extremely painful. I couldn't lift my arms above my head to blow dry my hair. Um, it was crippling. I felt like I was so old, and I was only 14, 15 years old. And I'm like, what the heck? I couldn't get into a cold pool. I would put my clothes in the dryer before I'd go to school. I spent most of my time in the nurse's office, just resting, and they allowed me. And that's when they were like, I think something is going on with you. And I do remember talking to my mom, and I remember specifically a moment where I was on the floor and I was like doubled over in pain, just pain all over my body. And I said, something's not right. Um, and this had come after a mononucleosis or Epstein-Barr virus diagnosis. I had never felt better after that. So I guess you would say that was like one of the first hits of like a pivotal thing in my health. But really, so many things were going on at the same time. But for the longest time, I was like, oh, it was mono that did it. Because then after that, it was just like a downhill, like experience of one thing, one symptom after the other. Painful periods to the point where I would be fainting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was multiple things, and I'm sorry if I have trouble recalling. It's just one, I don't know if I fully comprehended how traumatic of an experience that was for me as such a young age. But also, I'm so far removed from that person now that it's like, that was a lifetime ago. I can't even believe. And then also, it's like, how much were the drugs, wiping that from my memory? Because
Mm-hmm.
at that age, I was taking things like Ambien just to go to sleep at night,
Mm-hmm.
and which is insane. I was also on birth control. It was just a trial and error of medication after medication. And then that's was like, okay, so is it the medication that's making me feel this way? Or am I really this sick? And it wasn't until I was in college and I was driving to my birthday dinner, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't drive right now because I was trying this new drug called Lyrica. And which ironically, I asked my doctor to try that drug. I saw it on TV and I was like, I'm going to just go, be my own advocate, and I want this drug and let's try it. And he was like, sure, why not? Let's do it. And I remember being like, how am I supposed to be a college student taking these tests and exams and be present and learn anything when I can't even see the road. I can't drive. I can't do this. I'm non-functional. And that's when I was really having this intuition in the back of my head that was like, maybe you should start eating healthier. I bet that could help you. And I firmly believed that, but I didn't do anything about it because I was turning 20 years old, 21 years old. And I didn't want to change my whole diet. I wanted to be like every other college kid that ate like crap and
Partied
drank
and
alcohol. And
yeah, it's the college experience, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, I was still robbed of my college experience because of medications I was on and just crippling fatigue and pain that would come over me. That was very stress induced because it would line up with whenever finals would come around. I remember having to have my roommate take me to the emergency room, and I was just hooked up to morphine all day because I was having such a bad flare, and I was out for the whole day because I was just in so much pain. I could hardly walk to the car to get to the emergency room. And so, yeah, I lived that way for a couple of years. And then finally, I got a combination of medication that kind of brought my SED rates, which is your inflammation markers, to an acceptable zone, which keep in mind for my age, it should have been about 22. The inflammation marker should have been about 22, and I was in a 78. And then with the medication I was on, which was citalopram and hydroxychloroquine, I was then brought down to about a 42, which is still significant inflammation. But I was like, okay, I'll settle. I can do this. And then I got married to my husband, Alec, which he had been with me through this whole time because we met in high school. So he really witnessed my ups and downs. And we witnessed his mom go through radical healing through just diet alone. And so we were like, okay, there's something to this diet thing that my intuition was telling me. And he goes, I'll do this with you. And I get choked up every time because I don't think I would have been able to. I'm sorry. I don't think I would have been able to do it without him buckling down with me. Like I needed that support because that was such a big lifestyle change for me. Um, Food was my comfort, and I loved to eat French fries and all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I still indulge when I can, but that was a big deal, and for him, just to have his support meant everything. And then, so about 3 months after me changing just my diet, it was just my diet. I hadn't really uh, thought about anything else at this point. I was still lighting candles that were toxic and this and that. And it was like 3 months had gone by, and I was like, you know what? I feel so good. Like, I think I could get off my medication. Well, never go off your medication without consulting somebody who knows what they're doing. And most of the times, your doctor doesn't know what they're doing. But I
Which med
cold
was
turkey.
this?
It was citalopram, which is like an anti-anxiety medication, which I was actually taking. You know, like how they have medications where you're like, okay, it's for this, but you're actually going to take it for this. So
I was
I,
on that one as well for panic attacks. I
yeah.
also went cold turkey.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but it was really interesting because that was when I discovered homeopathic medicine.
Yes.
I was getting like these crazy brain zaps, like literally, like I felt like I was gonna just like fall on the ground.
Yeah.
I was so dizzy and I didn't know where to turn because this was at a point where I was still quite entrenched in the system, but I knew that it wasn't helping me. So I went to the health food store and chatted with somebody there, and they were like, well, all we have is, this homeopathic, these pills. It's called Vertigo Heal, like Vertigo, HEEL. And I just did not believe in homeopathy at that point, but I was just like, I don't care. Like, I just need to try something. I took one of those pills. The symptoms were gone and they never came back. I still have that bottle somewhere.
I totally believe that.
Yeah, it was
I'm
wild.
such a firm believer now, even knowing what I know now about homeopathy. And we're currently treating my son with homeopathy. And I am a firm believer in that stuff. Like, I could go, that's like a
Wild.
whole nother podcast.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, it's wild. And they don't, like, I guess they expect us to like just take this medication and be like, yep, okay, you're on your way, kiddo. Like, you're
Yep.
good to go.
Mhm.
There's never a conversation about like, hey, if you don't take this, this is what could happen. And so I was like, yeah, I think a 3-day taper would be great. And so then I had a mental breakdown, not actually, but
Close.
I remember my husband and I fighting over the trash can.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
freaking know. It was something stupid, but I was like, but you didn't take the trash out. And it was just like something stupid. And that's when I was like, oh, I think I'm going through withdrawal.
Yeah.
But then a lot of it, I blurred out. I don't really remember, but I ended up going to get some blood work done because I did feel so great. I wasn't in pain. And so I got the numbers back, and my SED rates were down the lowest they had been in about a decade. And I just cried.
Oh,
I couldn't believe it. And I was like, I did this. None of those MFers did this. I did this. They didn't talk to me about diet.
yep.
And then that was just the beginning, because then I went to toxins in the environment and all of the body products and candles and cleaning supplies. And it was just one rabbit hole after the other. And I just started to feel even better and better. And then it wasn't until, I guess you would say, 2019 did we even really think about trauma healing, which is like a whole
Yep.
other layer to
Yep.
this. And that's why it's still evolving. Like, so I've been off of medication for 6 years now, and really stable. But I now have the mental capacity and physical capacity to deal with the trauma healing, which is
Mhm.
so important because it's like that's probably one of the main things that made you ill in the first place.
Yep.
So
Wow.
that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And, I've just been nodding the whole time because I see myself in your story so
Mm,
much.
mm,
Like my symptoms started when I was really young. So I had constant throat infections, but I was around the age
mhm,
14 when things started like really going downhill. And that
mhm,
was when the quote unquote depression started and then the panic attacks. And by the time I was
mhm.
18, it was the same thing. I remember trying to curl my hair and just holding my arms
Yeah,
up was
yeah.
exhausting. Like the pain that I experienced throughout my body, the doctors were like, well, it's fibromyalgia. Here's some tramadol that you can take
Yep, I was
for the.
on that.
You're
Yep.
on tramadol too?
Mhm.
Yeah. Citalopram, tramadol, Wellbutrin. My God,
Oh
they
yeah,
they
totally
had
forgot
me
about that
on
one.
stuff for GERD. They were gonna, because I had heartburn because I was eating trash, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't like, hey, change your diet, stop eating McDonald's,
Right, because
like,
they don't get that education. They think it's pointless.
yeah,
I
I
went
know.
to a rheumatologist as recent as, well, see, I was pregnant with my second, and I went to a doctor. I don't know why. I think my husband was still in the army. And so I needed a referral. And so I went to go check in with them because I was still part of the system at this point. I hadn't changed to midwife yet. I was still like, well, I want to make sure because this is the life of my baby. And so I was checking all the boxes. I compartmentalized
Hmm.
because it was no longer about me. And I thought I was doing the right thing. Um, and the nurse that was checking me in, she's like, "Do you have any special diets?" And I was like, I guess you could say paleo. And she's like, "What?" I was like, "Paleo." She goes, "How do you spell that?" And I was like, "Okay." Um, and
Wrong
they were
audience.
just, yeah, they were just flabbergasted.
Yeah.
As was I, because I was like, "Oh, wow." I forget that a lot of people don't really equate what they're eating to how they're feeling or their status of their health. And I still feel that way. Like, I still feel like I'll go back into society and I'm like, oh, not everybody thinks this way. I forget
Mm,
that.
yeah. I know. It's frustrating. So what was this, the like paleo, the original diet that you did that started to alleviate symptoms?
Kind of. I started with Whole 30 because I think
Hmm.
it's great for anybody to start with Whole 30 because you eliminate basically so much crap out of your life, and then you start to reintegrate things, and then you could really see what your body responds to.
Hmm.
Um, my husband and I have had debates about diet for so many years, and now we're kind of under the same understanding that diet is so, just like medication, is not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Some people thrive on plant based, some people thrived on carnivore, and I stick to mostly a paleo diet. But not everybody thrives that way. And I really just believe it's because we all have underlying toxins and trauma that we respond to. And therefore,
Hmm.
what we're putting in our body is going to respond to those. And
Yeah.
so that's why everybody's different. It's not going to be the same.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and even just like our microbiome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't remember who I was listening to recently, but they were talking about, why some people probably feel a lot better on a plant-based diet
Mm-hmm.
and other people feel really good on something like carnivore,
Mm-hmm.
or why when they try to integrate, other foods that their body starts freaking out or they start having flare-ups. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because if you have an overgrowth or not enough
Right.
of a certain type of bacteria in your gut, your body's going
Mm-hmm.
to react to different foods in a
Totally.
totally different way, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought was fascinating. And yeah, for people who might be curious as to like what paleo is, so like that's
Yeah.
eliminating dairy, wheat.
Sugar.
Yeah.
I would say I'm a modified paleo
Hmm.
because I don't want to get so crazy about what I'm eating. I mean, I do. I am pretty strict, but not in the way that you would think, because with if you are focusing so far into that, then the the energy exchange is not going to be. Does that make sense? Like if you are putting so much pressure on what you're eating, you're going to make
Hmm.
yourself sick just
Yeah.
by being psychotic about what you're eating.
Oh, I've been there. Like
And I
I
don't
literally
know.
created eating disorders from being
Ugh,
so psycho about what I'm putting in my body.
yeah,
Like
I know
intuitive
it's
eating
so
is,
hard.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I
for
don't know.
sure.
Are you familiar with German New Medicine at all?
No,
Oh my gosh. Okay,
what's
here's another
this?
rabbit hole for
Yay.
you. You should look up Dr. Melissa Sell on
Oh,
Instagram because
okay.
she's a German new medicine practitioner, and it will blow your mind. Like, you need to interview her. Like,
Okay.
so amazing. But it's pretty much about how, and I'm going to butcher this, people. So I'm trying. But basically, it's about how every symptom that's presenting is tied to some sort of specific trauma that you've experienced in your life.
Mm.
Like I'm talking down to the side of like your left ovary. If you're having cysts, sorry, that was sounded weird, on your left ovary, then it's tied to like a specific trauma. And most of the time it's spot on, and it's kind of mind blowing. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, it's definitely something worth looking into. And
Yeah.
but anyways, I think in German New Medicine, it's pretty much it's it's not so much of following a specific diet. It's the relationship you have with the food. And if
Mhm.
you are thinking about eating this Snickers bar, like, oh, this is going to make me feel like shit, but I'm going to eat it anyways, it's probably going to be more likely going to make you feel like shit.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it would still probably make me feel like shit, but, but,
And it
but
just makes
that,
it worse.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and I just still have years of, I am huge advocate of detoxing, but I still have years to go. I was fully vaccinated growing up,
Hmm.
and years of medication that I took.
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I feel like, and just by virtue of existing in the world we live in today, detoxing regularly is a thing everybody has to look into because
Hmm.
there's just too much crap. It's unavoidable at this point.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't
Yeah.
say that as like a scary thing. I say that as like be empowered with that knowledge, because then you
Hmm.
don't have to be scared. Because if you know what you're doing and ways to protect yourself and, keep yourself healthy, then it doesn't have to be scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going through kind of like a new level. I don't know. I keep,
Mm-hmm.
I have some success, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
starting out with diet, right? Both
Mm-hmm.
you and I
Mm-hmm.
think both started the healing journey with diet. And
Mm-hmm.
that got me to a certain point. I was feeling so much better, all of these things, but I was still on certain medications that I was afraid to come off of because I've had hormone dysregulation for years and years and years. Now realizing that it was likely from a ton of antibiotic use, traumas, all of these different things. And then, I've delved into spiritual things, all types of healing modalities. And recently, I finally got off of all my medication. So at one point, I did an episode a few back talking about how at one point I was on 8 prescription
Oh my gosh.
medications. And I just recently went off of all the hormone stuff. So I was
Wow.
terrified to get off of birth control. I was on it for,
Yeah.
my God, over 20 years,
Oh my
because
goodness.
every time I got off, I would get, these horrible cysts on my face, my back, my chest, my periods were just out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got prescribed this other medication that was helping me with a blood pressure issue, which was a dysregulation with my endocrine system, which now I'm realizing is like, all tied to the hormone stuff. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? And this was I made this decision in conjunction by working with a spiritual advisor and my spirit guides, right? They were like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, it's safe for you to come off this stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I weaned myself off of, I was Wellbutrin as well, that I'd been
Oh my
on,
gosh.
just forever. And I'm like, okay, I got to get off this as well. And I just did my own research, went to my doctor, who I like to call my drug dealer, because literally I can just go in and be like, hey, give me
Accurate.
this. And he's like, sure, no questions, no nothing, just gives it to me. And I'm like, okay,
You're a pharmacist.
I need it. Because he was like, oh, there's no way that you can wean off of this. And I was like, excuse me? What do you mean there's no way I can wean off this? He's like, yeah, it's just, basically cold turkey or just going off like half dose. And I was like, what? And this is why I hadn't gone off for so many years, because I've tried cold turkey before and I have, gotten to points where I was, pretty much suicidal because the symptoms that I was having were just insane.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
so,
then you're like, oh well, maybe I need that medication because now
well,
I'm
that's
having
the
these thoughts
thing.
again. But it's like it's such a mind f.
It
And then
is.
like you were probably taking all these medications like for one symptom. Like this happens to so many people. It's like they're taking one medication that's causing a set of symptoms, and they're taking another medication for those set of symptoms that's being caused by another medication. So it's just like one big mind f.
Yep. Yeah,
Ugh,
it is. I
I'm
know.
so
It's hard.
sorry.
It's hard to get out of that system.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really difficult. Like, but I know because I've seen it, and I've seen it in myself. I've seen it in other people. It's been a really, really slow process for me and very frustrating at times. Sometimes it can seem like two steps forward and one step back, or two
Mm-hmm.
steps forward, two steps back, and you're just kind of like stuck in this one place. But I'm like, I need to really just commit to this and, go through it. And so now I'm having a resurgence of symptoms, right? The hormonal things that I'm going through, and
Mm-hmm.
some really, uncomfortable inflammation in my joints.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm working with this really fabulous healthcare provider, Dr. Kevin Preston. I had him on. Well, the episode hasn't launched yet, but it's coming here soon. And it's a whole new. It's really cool, actually. He did some testing. It was interesting that you mentioned Germany. He's got these cool testing machines that he uses from Germany, testing pressure points and measuring the body's reactivity to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the tests were amazing. Like all the issues that I'm having are showing up. And he's
Yeah, it's like
going,
a biofeedback type of
yes,
machine. That's awesome.
exactly. Yeah. And it's wild. And he's fine. He's like, Krista, like I'm seeing layers and layers and layers and layers of strep in your body.
Mm.
I thought he was going to find mono, because I've had mono
Mhm.
before.
Mhm.
He's like, there is a little bit of parasite stuff and there is still some like, gut dysbiosis, but like this is the main thing. And he's like, this can travel into your ovaries. It can travel into your kidneys. It can go like, it can just pile up in all different types, of systems in your body. And
Right.
so now I'm going through that process. It'll probably be about 6 months for the first protocol that we're doing. And so I'm going to have to go through some uncomfortable things,
Mhm.
detoxing,
Yeah.
but it's a whole new system for me. Right. Which I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is great. At least we're getting to the root here. Right.
Mhm.
Because the diet and all of that, like it's incredibly crucial, but
Right.
there's still more under there, especially if you've had layers and layers and layers
Right.
of, toxicity and illness and medication and trauma throughout your life.
Right. Well, and I think it's also important that people start to view their symptoms as their body's um, red flag system.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Vacation. Yeah.
hey, actually, you have inflammation because your body's trying to get rid of this. Like, for so long, people would take birth control for acne or, for all these other reasons. And it's like, well, actually, your body was just trying to get rid of it. And our skin is the largest organ. And so that's our body's way of trying to push it out. And so I really love to encourage people to see their symptoms as, oh, my body is doing what it needs to do to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's incredibly painful and uncomfortable, I can support my body in its natural detoxification ways, so I could speed up this process or make it more manageable. But even just having the understanding that inflammation is there to help you. Obviously, chronic inflammation, that's a different story, but it's still your body's indication, check oil light coming on saying, hey, you need to change something. And yeah, I think even just having that mind shift of like, okay, my body is not attacking itself. My body is healing itself.
I love that. That's a big mind shift for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There was a book that somebody recommended to me recently by the woman, what is her name? Clarissa Pinkola Estes. Am I saying that correctly? She wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the title of this other book is called. But just the introduction of the book, she talks about the body and how the body loves you, right? And like, we're so hard on it. And even though we're so hard on it, it's just here showing up every day for you.
Yeah.
And, learning to listen to the things that come up, the things that, we find inconveniences in all of these things are just the way that it's trying to communicate with you. And I mean, she's a poet. So the way that she said it, like I just started
so eloquent.
sobbing, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm just like hugging myself being like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, you know what? It's so interesting that you bring that up because that is something that I've recently started doing is talking to myself, like reparenting myself, like in real time. Like, what would my higher self say to me right now in this moment that I want to shut down and freeze and I can't move? What would she say to me right now? I'm trying to be the person or the parent that I need in this moment. And, I've been finding myself going back to those moments of when I needed that guiding voice the most. And now I'm doing it in real time. So it's so funny that you bring that up because it really is vital to have that person, and nobody's going to come and save you. It's going to be you.
Yep.
And the clearer you get with that and understand that and start trusting your intuition, that's when you start healing yourself and you get more clear because you're reaffirming that intuition. And it's like, yes, okay, I was right. And when you start listening to it, everything's just going to fall into place because when you're connected to yourself and to divine creator, whatever you want to call it, God, you're on your path and it just clicks. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I had to touch on that because that's something that I've been practicing within this last 2 weeks of my life where I'm like, okay, who do I need to be for myself right now? But I also wanted to say something else is that you were talking about our bodies are working so hard for us. And I totally agree. And one of the thing, unfortunately, that Western medicine has done in reference to autoimmune conditions is they're even framing it as your body's attacking itself. And that automatically shuts you off from yourself as to, oh, I'm bad. Like, what is that saying to you energetically? My body is attacking itself. I just don't believe that anymore. I don't subscribe to that anymore. We need to reframe that as my body is self-healing and it's communicating that with me. Anyways, I just had to touch back on that because I just even feel like that, although the well-meaning doctors that they are, sometimes not, even just reaffirming that your body is attacking itself is not going to help you heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I think that is incredibly important. And I need to check myself too sometimes with my own language because, I still have a bad day here and there and I get really frustrated and I'm just like, fuck. Like, why was I given this broken body that I have to deal with? And, it's been 38 years. I'm exhausted. I am sick of the fucking healing journey. And
I know. It's like, why did I incarnate here? What am I doing here? Are we done yet? And I don't want to come back. Thank you.
My girlfriends and I joke about that all the time. I'm just like, oh God, this incarnation. I've done a lot of things in this lifetime already. If I got hit by a bus tomorrow, no regrets. Like, I'm cool to go back to where I came from, and whatever.
Yeah. Well, it always helps when you're like, okay, I did choose this, and honestly, we're living out our purpose right now is
Mhm.
sharing our stories because
Mhm.
just like you said in the beginning, people are going to need people like you and I. And we're paving the way for people to start self-healing, which is sovereignty in all aspects of their life, to not rely on our abusers, which is just the government. And sorry, I could go down that whole tangent, but
No, I totally agree.
I become self-reliant in all aspects of your
Mhm.
life. And uh,
Yeah.
we're living out our purpose right now because this time of like, it's just crazy. Sometimes if you really sit back and think about everything that's going on, and maybe I'm just too much of a conspiracy theorist, like I believe in everything, but it's just wild. And I firmly believe that that's why we're here. That's why I went through what I went through, is not only to heal myself and others around me, and my son included. He's going through his own I'm throwing up quotation marks, autoimmune.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not really thinking about it as his body attacking itself, but autoimmune encephalitis. And it's been incredibly bumpy and challenging.
Mm.
And, just having the faith that there's no mistakes, and that we chose this, and that this is part of who he is, and this is part of his journey. And it's still helping me heal aspects of myself, which is,
Mm.
it's just so incredible how our healing journeys are intertwining, and eventually going to help other people too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, how do you work with other people? Because you're a holistic health coach, correct?
Yeah. And I'm not like actively promoting my services. It's there. If people want to reach out, I'm available to work with them. But yeah, the way I do things is that I try to keep it simple, but although each individual person is not simple, there's
Mm.
only so much that we can cover within an hour. I'll do like an hour phone call, and I say, tell me everything that you're comfortable telling me. And then I'll kind of take it all in. And then I basically email them all of my thoughts. Like, this, obviously it's not one thing. There's not one thing that's making you ill, but here are the ways that you can improve your symptoms. I'm not claiming to cure anyone, even though my website is creating the cure.
Mhm.
But yeah, if you get in touch with yourself, and you really can have a quote cure, because I'm no longer on medications. If I did it, oh my gosh, I was like the most negative, sad person. And if I'm looking back at that girl, like if I did that without any guidance, then you guys can do it. But
Yeah.
obviously, there's a level of, um, I don't know, people have to be at a certain point in their lives to be ready. Because
Rock
if they're
bottom,
not,
baby.
yeah,
Rock bottom.
if they don't have any skin in the game, or they haven't gotten to that point, they're not
Yeah.
ready,
Yeah.
then they're going to stay exactly where they're at.
Mhm.
And I also tell my people to keep a really open mind when they're working with me, because I am not conventional in the way that I think about disease, period. And it's
Mm.
totally changed since COVID happened.
Mhm.
Um, and even the way I think about mold, and mold can still affect people, no doubt, but mold is there for a purpose, and it's actually breaking down toxic materials in the environment. And so it's the waste product that we're getting sick from, not
Mm.
necessarily black mold itself. That's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Mhm.
But if you're interested, check out the Way Forward podcasts with my husband, because he is, if anybody knows my husband, he's, yeah, we're very not traditional thinking when it comes to disease.
Mhm.
Um, or what causes disease. So I really ask people that I work with to keep an open mind and really trust themselves. And all I can do is just give you the wisdom that I've lived through, and, take what resonates and leave what doesn't.
Mhm.
And it's going to be up to them to try things and have faith that, okay, I'm on the path and I'm going to get through this, and just hang in there.
Mhm.
Because if you are in the seeking path of trying to heal, you're already in the right direction. And It's wild because I'm 6 years in and I'm still healing every day and still doing things every day. And it's my passion. I love to talk about this stuff with people because I feel like I'm in a bubble of, I feel like that's why I'm horrible about social media. I feel like, well, everybody knows this. So why would I need to share this information?
I do the same
And
thing.
yeah, so I'm like, well, I don't need to share because everybody knows this. And then I'm
Nobody
talking
knows.
to somebody. Yeah. And then I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, oh, paleo is spelled Paleo. That's just a stupid example, but yeah, I'm just in a bubble. But that's even another layer of myself that I'm like, okay, well, what's there? Why am I not wanting to share? I also have a love-hate relationship with technology. I'm not very
Mhm.
good at it,
Mm.
and I don't have any interest. And I'm just really focused in on my babies right now. They are my number one thing. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. So, I just trying to gather my thoughts around what you just said.
well, I just had diarrhea of the mouth, so I'm really sorry. I was just
No, not at all. No, it's great. But the whole aspect of like the non-traditional, right? And
Mhm.
people needing to open their minds because the way that we have been doing things is not working,
Not
right?
working. No,
We're getting
yeah.
sicker. Like the industrial complex system has just caused so many issues on the planet,
Mhm.
from killing our mother earth
Mhm.
to killing ourselves. And we're just inundated with things every single day. And we really are going through this awakening process where people are realizing, like, hey, the way that we thought the world works might not be how it actually works at all. And
Mhm.
more people are having to, move away from systems that just clearly aren't working. Like if you have a chronic illness, right? Like this is this is why so many people who, maybe decline the medical interventions that were forced upon people over the past couple of years. The people who decline those things are the people who have been challenged with these health issues for, could be a couple years, could be their whole lives. And what they were given as a solution isn't working, right? And
Mhm.
so they've had to figure out other means to go about it.
They had to
And if
question, they had to get curious because they would
yeah,
be exactly where they are or sicker.
exactly. Like it's just going to get worse. Like look at me, like I was on 8 friggin' medications. Like they were just going to keep piling it on. Like I was
Mhm.
told you're never going to get better. This is just how you are. You have all of these diseases and that's just your life. And I used to be terrified that I was just going to end up, that I was never going to be able to leave my parents' place, that they were going to have to take care of me, and that I
Mhm.
was going to end up like crippled in a wheelchair. That was literally the picture that they painted for me.
Mhm.
That
I
was
can
literally
so
it.
relate. I can totally relate. And that was another reason why I got off my medications because I was like, oh, wait, I want to have kids. I want to be able to have kids someday because that was
Mhm.
really important to me. Um, and my husband and I, and just like I thought, as long as I'm on these medications, I'm not going to be able to have babies. And it's just these medications have real side effects that can
Yeah.
be damaging and long term, and we just don't even know. And
Yeah.
that's why I turned to the holistic natural remedies in the first place because I was like, okay, so if it doesn't work, I'm not going to have a serious side effect. And that's another reason why I love homeopathy so much because it's like cures like. And if it doesn't work, if you are taking a remedy and nothing happens, then okay, well maybe that wasn't the remedy for you, and you're not going to have a side effect from it.
Mhm.
And that's why, and it's all energetic medicine. And once you
Yeah.
really start diving into that, it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, mind blown.
So
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation. That
Mhm.
is just amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are really open to that now too. Frequency medicine. I'm seeing it's
Hmm.
even infiltrating MLM now.
I
There's
know.
there's this
I
device
know.
that's going on. I'm sure you've heard of like the
The
Healy.
Healy, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Now I've got like everybody messaging me about this thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
I'm a
I
little,
really believe I know
yeah,
because I mean, I use Young Living products, but I'm
yeah.
never the person. It's so hard. And you know what? I have friends that sell and work their booties off and support their family, and that's amazing because
Mhm.
those are products that I believe in, essential oils, whatever. I believe in those things to work, but I'm not the hey girl type of
Yeah,
girl.
yeah,
So
I know.
I know we haven't chatted since high school,
Yeah.
but I don't know, but
I
that's
have an
something within
opportunity
me.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally believe in things like the Healy. But then I saw this post the other day. I can't even remember who posted it. Um, but I found it so compelling because she said, yeah, I really like the Healy, but I love homeopathy more because that's truly off grid. Because if something happens to the power grid, which,
Mm.
I wouldn't call myself a doomsday prepper, but you never know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, if the
I'm,
grid goes down, you can't
mhm.
use your Wi-Fi to heal yourself.
Yeah.
So you're gonna need the off-grid solutions.
Yeah. I agree.
So I thought that was awesome. But also I have another friend who does do the Healy, but she also was previously trained in energy healing with like movements on your body. And she's like, oh, let me just fix this for you, and would do like a figure eight over my head. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so much better. Like, but she knows, like, she's trained in all these movements that would, I would say, help how I'm feeling in the moment. And I'm like, oh wow, I respect that. That's really cool. When
Very
we're using our tools ourselves, our own bodies and stuff, and
cool. Hmm.
natural remedies that our bodies can work with, that is so amazing to me.
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like that is the future. We have this
Totally.
one viewpoint that the future is more technology, more devices, more, the things that have really actually not been serving us. They do serve
Right.
us in certain ways, but
Yeah.
in a lot of other ways, it's just creating so much more dysregulation in our bodies and society. But yeah, I mean, like learning, because I mean, there's so much in intention, right? Like when we talk
Hmm.
about the quote unquote placebo effect, like
Hmm.
that's a fucking thing.
I know.
Like
Yeah.
and the medical community talks about it, like they
I know.
acknowledge it, but it's like, oh, it's just a placebo effect,
Yeah.
like, oh, that's not really. It's like that is kind of a big deal. Like, why are we not putting all of the money into figuring that out?
I
Like that's
know.
crazy to me.
Well, and I learned that homeopathy was a Western medicine thing. It was Western. It wasn't like ancient Eastern medication or medicine. I combined the word meditation and medication. Or medicine, whatever. I still have a mom brain, so bear with me. But homeopathy was Western medicine, and a lot of doctors back in the day were trained in that until Rockefeller medicine came around. And
Interesting.
yeah, but that's a whole nother thing your
Not
people can
surprising.
start looking into.
Not
Um,
surprising.
but it's also cool. Well, not cool, but there's so many things about energy medicine that you have to go. I feel like this might not be true for everybody, but there's certain layers of healing you have to do first in order to be open to those other layers of healing. Because if you
Yeah.
would have talked to me 7 years ago about this stuff, I would have been like, no,
Yeah.
not going to work for me. That's
Totally.
quackery.
Yep.
And it's like peeling back the layers and healing this and healing that. And then you're like, okay,
Hmm.
I could get down with that. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many things that I am into now
hmm.
that a few years ago I would have scoffed and rolled my eyes at
Hmm.
for sure. But, I feel better than I ever have in my life. Is there still work to do? Yep. Am I bedridden anymore? Nope, not even close. I get so much done in a day now that I might have only dreamed of getting done in a week prior.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
there's been
amazing.
remarkable progress, right? And for you as
That's
well,
awesome.
which is great.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like I could talk to you forever, but
I
we're getting
know.
close
I
to
know.
our time here. I would love to go down more rabbit holes and
Yes.
talk about
Well,
all
maybe
the
we'll do a
things.
part two someday.
Yeah, I would love that. Well, okay. So for anybody who wants to get in touch and, pick your brain about some of these alternative ideas that you have,
Mhm.
where can they find you?
Yeah, my Instagram is Kylee, Kylee dot Zeck, Zeck. And I do have a website, which you could find in my link tree in my bio on my Instagram, or you could just search creatingthecure.coach. And you could find my website and ways to book a consultation with me through that way. But easiest is probably Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm
Thank you
so,
so much for having me. I had so much fun.
yeah, me too. Well, thanks so much. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to do a part two.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much for sharing your time and energy with us today. We'd love to hear your feedback on how our podcast has impacted your life and are also open to suggestions for new and interesting topics. Please leave your comments with a quick review to help us grow this magical community of wellness warriors and light workers. Every month, we select one lucky reviewer to win our big magic box containing all 3 of our beautiful magic lattes. To connect with us further, check us out on Instagram at wild_remedies. Thank you again, and see you at the next episode.